All right. Welcome to the Level Up podcast. Today we got Mark, Mr. Newts Effinger. So, Mark, take it away. Just give us a little quick background about who you are, what Mr. Newts, like the nickname there, where that came from.
Well, thanks so much, Kevin. Really happy to be here. Yeah, where'd that come from? So in the in 2008, my former wife died of an oxycodone overdose,
Oh,
and
wow.
so
Sorry.
yeah, and we had three kids together, all natural births, and so I was a little bit more than pissed off at doctors over prescribing, and her, she was a cute girl. She could walk in, bat her eyes, and they would write her a script for right.
Yeah.
And it all started with her giving. It was a birth on a couch in our living room in front of a fireplace to my youngest daughter. So it was
Wow.
like we're this kind of Birkenstock wearing green family in the Pacific Northwest,
Mm-hmm.
and she tore a little bit, and the doctor gave her 4 oxycodone, and she fell in love with it, and 10 years later she died from it. So
Man.
that's what led to. I had done some nootropic experiments in the early '90s with some Intel engineers, trying to level up the performance of this small 20-person engineering group by helping them get off coffee and replace it with a component called vinpostine that basically increases blood oxygen to the brain, as well as reduces a thing called acetylcholinesterase,
Mm-hmm.
which is an enzyme that breaks down choline after it passes the synapse. Choline is the neurotransmitter that is good for memory and for recall and for those kinds of things. Any kind of function where you're actually trying to get data from somewhere in the brain to the mouth, there's acetylcholine involved in that.
Gotcha.
And so if you block that enzyme that breaks it down, then you get more acetylcholine flowing in that synapse, and you get higher cognitive performance. So
Okay.
so I spent a couple weeks with some Intel engineers, who a couple of them I had hired years prior in a laser company of mine, and put them on that. And over 2 weeks, we were able to get them off of coffee. So this replaced coffee because their wakefulness was there without any of the side effects of caffeine. And this is before we had, before Dave Asprey hit the scene and taught us about how to do butter coffee and those kinds of things. But
Yep.
at the time, right, theanine would be you might add some theanine to your coffee and slow down the uptake of the caffeine and get it to last longer. So, but it worked really well, and it was a markedly improved performance increase. And because we graphed it all, what we found out was really interesting in that people were operating at typically between 48 and 65% of their optimum or peak performance, and they were running all day like that. So so you're going, holy shit, this is kind of a sub-performance level for people, especially for entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
that would be considered like really subpar. Now, the thing, just like dementia or other kind of these slow creeping diseases, is you don't know that your performance is at that level because you've been
Mm.
operating at that, right? It's the
That's a
frog
hundred
boiling.
for you.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was kind of the thing. And so after getting them on this extract for about a month and a half there, and we did another performance increase check, and the performance is running at anywhere from 72 to 90 plus based on the number of what we call them thought particles, the number of things that they had to deal with every day that they
Mm-hmm.
had to process, which whether it's a whiteboard brainstorming meeting, it's a number of emails, all of this stuff. And email was very early back then. This is 1993 to 95,
Gotcha.
96. And so seeing that increase was kind of an aha moment for me. And I had gone through a health crisis early in my 90s with a thing called hypothyroidism.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew what it felt like to feel like crap and to have your mind all foggy and just not to have any energy and all that. Fixing that was a really, instrumental for me. A guy named Dr. Kelvin Lindgren got me into that. So we fast forward 2008, Tish passes away. I start digging into. I at the time I owned a software company with the founder of Century 21 Real Estate, a guy named Marsh Fisher, and we
Mm-hmm.
did lateral thinking brainstorming software. So what that means is we did software that did two things really effectively. it asks you sequences of questions in the area that you're trying to solve a problem or be creative.
Yeah.
4-step sequences. We had over 16,000 questions compiled, and we basically hired thousands of really smart people who are domain experts. And we said, what are the questions you ask yourself that you don't even know you're asking, like you intuitively ask them, in order to resolve an issue or to deep dive into a problem? And so they gave us that data, and then we compiled it into these modules. We call them Q banks or question banks. And then we had the other side of it. We had 7 databases worldwide that were being filled every moment. This is before AI technology or even machine learning was popular. But what we were doing is it was manually being filled by people that volunteered to generate content or to scour the web for content, to spider the web for content, put it in here so that we knew that Jeff Daniels was Will McAvoy in the newsroom, and he said this sentence at this time to this person, and it had all of this wild, associative thinking stuff. And Drew Carey wrote all of his comedy with it. He had 6 of his writers using our software.
No way. Wow.
Yeah. A number of the mega pastors used it to write sermons, and almost every advertising agency worldwide used our software. So I had this
Sounds like baby AI almost.
Right. Yeah. It was definitely the baby port. After using ChatGPT and some of the other AI tools, it's very, very raw. But it was a really good introduction to how does the mind work, because I got to sit down with neuroscientists and probe their process and learn from them. Dr. Amen back in 2000, 2001, we hung out. And so as a result of that, I started going, gosh, this very talented, very capable, very smart person, who wasn't the first person, this being my former wife, this wasn't the first person who I knew that was really, really sharp, really capable, really funny, really enthusiastic about life, who was addicted to some kind of a degrading substance. And so my thing was, why do people get addicted? Mm-hmm. What keeps them addicted, and what would it take to get them out of the addiction? And so I went to a rehab facility on the Oregon coast and said, can I hang out here on weekends and learn from your incoming? These are the people that are really messed up. They're completely wasted. They oftentimes don't even know where they are or what their name is or those things. And so I started interviewing them, and I also at the same time was going back to my biochemistry roots of the 90s, and I was starting to concoct formulas, acetylcholine formulas, acetylcholinesterase formulas, a new category of neurochemical precursor called nootropics. That's where the Mr. Newts came from. And I started formulating these things. I was putting them together, not with the idea of building a business or anything, but with the idea of getting people I loved and people that could be really high contributors to society off of the thing that was keeping them from contributing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wow, that's a long, deep story. And so that's interesting that you went on this journey almost like just for answers and alternatives rather than for business. And now here's the
my how times have changed. I have to tell you, I was super, if you tried to write the script, and this is relevant to anybody that ever wants to be an entrepreneur and has an intention about being successful or intention about being independent from the man, or wants to do something cool. Like, let me ask you a quick question. How big is the town that you're in? You're in Kansas, right?
We're Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Yeah, cities. I think we're like 40, 60,000, somewhere around there. It's smallish.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I moved from Portland, Oregon, 2.25 million, 2.5 million, metro area, Vancouver, Washington, Portland, Oregon, that area, Beaverton, where Nike is and Intel is and all of these big companies.
Yeah.
And I moved to a town just 2 years ago. My sweetheart and I, Chastity, who does all of our flavoring here at Nootopia and Bioptimizers, we moved from that town to a town of 26,000 on the Mississippi River. So we moved to the Midwest. My idea was, could I buy a house on a credit card somewhere in America that wouldn't be so embarrassing that I couldn't invite my parents over?
Yeah.
And so we did that. It was a lie. You can't buy a house on a credit card that unless you got a platinum or a gold card.
Yeah.
Um, but we did learn a couple things. And here's the thing, and I know that you must deal with this a little bit. Once you get between 45 and 60,000, you typically have proximity to a major airport, which actually makes it a lot nicer. And you also have usually a four-year university as well. So, and that can make a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
We have Nashville's like an hour from me, and that's
oh,
pretty major city. So
yeah. Talk about major,
yeah.
and a great city for, but I mean, it's Rick Beato territory. So,
Yeah.
so when you start looking at these small cities, the thing that you notice first, I'm going to shift from biochemistry to entrepreneurship.
Take it away.
What you're going to notice is a lack of hope. So,
That's a
there's
small city or big city vibe.
So, no, it's small city. It's beautiful small city. It's fantastic. We've got my building here is 24,000 square feet. It was the power station for this city. This is Burlington, Iowa. Burlington Railroad, Burlington International Railroad, started
Wow.
here.
Wow.
So this is the kind of thing that we're looking at, and right on the Mississippi. I'm one block from the Mississippi over here.
Wow.
And this was the power plant. So this building I'm in was full of magnetos, not even generators. This is before generators. There's this thing called magnetos, which were electrical power plants. But the challenge you have, the good part is, I knew everybody within 6 months of living here.
Yeah.
Almost anybody that mattered. And just because people walked by and they brought their dog to my house because my dog they would play and stuff. And I lived on a nice little street. I lived in the nicest neighborhood in this town.
Yep.
I was living in a $30,000 house surrounded by mansions. And
Oh,
so
wow.
my house looked like the scene in Fight Club where they're making soap.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
right. It was just awful. And we were trying to build a business at the same time. My company, which at the time was called Web Nutrients, was being acquired by Bioptimizers, which is how I ended up here. And
Gotcha.
this is part 2 of the entrepreneurship thing we'll cover in a second. But here's the thing. In small towns, like we're case equipment, like tractors
Oh, yeah. Yep.
and top loaders is what we're the top loader center of the world, and then we've got a munitions plant over here, and we've got a multi-billion-dollar fertilizer plant, nitrogen fertilizer plant, right? So those are the things surrounding us, and when
Yep.
people get out of high school, they go, am I going to work for the spark plug plant? Am I going to work for the fertilizer plant, the cannery,
Yep.
Case? Am I going to get a job like my dad did, like my mom did, and my grandma did at Case, making the, welding the tines on this one top loader piece for the next 30 years.
Yep.
And as we all know, 30-year jobs don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think that small towns, the difference between a small town and a big town is a larger town like Portland. If I want to start a company, I go to a local coffee joint because Portland is like coffee central. I go to a local coffee joint. I hang out for a day with my laptop on their Wi-Fi. I drink a couple cups of Joe, and a venture capitalist, an angel investor, a really smart programmer, a guy that used to sell for enterprise software, and an incredible, you can build a company in an afternoon.
Yeah. And a Starbucks. Yeah.
Right. Here, you go to a bar and you hear them lamenting about their job that they've been in for 12 years. I even hired a bartender here, one of the first employees that I tried to get. He came here, and we had this bare building. We had almost nothing in it except for some laboratory equipment. And he came in and he did some Wi-Fi hookups and some other technology stuff. And then he looked at me and he said, "This isn't a real company. I got to leave." Like, you know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah.
startups don't have the same feel as a company where there's dust in the corner from 1902.
Yeah.
And so that was the thing. So I think one of the key things that we as entrepreneurs need to do is we need to provide hope. If you can be in a town of 46 to 60,000 or a town of 26,000, and you can help whether it's a youth or the guy that's just sick and tired of having that. If you can say, "Hey, look, you don't have to do this thing. You don't have to do the thing you're doing. You can have a side hustle that's not going to kill you, right? It's not going to eat up every hour of every day. You can find something that's a passion project and turn it into, if nothing else, a supplementary source of revenue and a way for you to get your yayas out and not feel like you're burning yourself at both ends. And it can even be a way for you and your sweetheart or the people you love to get together and do something that's common. I mean, it's not like a knitting circle, but it's that feel of
Like the tribal. How do we contribute? On building.
That's perfect. Tribal, yes.
Yeah.
And that's it. When my company was acquired, I got a guy opened up. Can I share the story of how this company got acquired?
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
All right. So I was a relatively prolific Facebooker at the time. You can tell because I'm an old guy. And I'm such an old guy that I've got a Justin Timberlake bobblehead.
Man, I used to listen to NSYNC all the time on my little at my grandma's the little CD player. Yeah, I'm with you.
Oh, I love it. Gosh, there's so much we could cover here, but we'll just limit this to this one. We can do another one if it sounds like fun. So I had been building these products, these nootropics, in test tubes.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. So after 3,000 prototypes from 2008 to 2012, I finally arrived at a formula that acted like the thing in the movie Limitless. It acted like the NZT in the movie Limitless. So
all right, I feel like I'm on an infomercial now.
I know. It's so sad. I wasn't going for that. I was just going for let's help people get out of addictive states.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to the rehab center, what I found was that people that were addicted, the reasons that they were in that state was outside of all the crap that typically happened in their lives to get them to that state of being addicted, or the biochemistry that they were inherently influenced with, is the reason they didn't go to rehab earlier was it was embarrassing.
Mm.
It was expensive, especially if they'd been there multiple times and insurance said, screw that, we're not covering you.
Yep.
And it was going to take at least 6 to 12 weeks of their life, if not 6 months or a year. And they're also going to be going to, some anonymous, right? Whether it's AA or similar, they're going to go to something, a weekly thing that's uncomfortable, especially if you're, you've been an executive, you've been a CEO, and suddenly you're slumming it with the rest of the people. So my whole thing was let me create something that very quickly, inexpensively, gets them, helps remove the drive of addiction. I knew that if I could clear up their head so they didn't have a foggy head, they didn't feel like they were drug-addled, that would make a big difference because that would help their decision-making. Yep. And then if I could give them natural energy, it's called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Your body makes natural energy. If I could give them ATP or help them create ATP in their body, then they would have natural energy to get off the couch because one of the big problems, especially for people that were on meth or cocaine or speed or anything that was a really hardcore stimulant, is once they were off of it, or Adderall, right, is they felt like crap, they just had no motivation, their dopamine was wiped, and so I did the reverse of that as I gave them natural energy so they could actually have the motivation. And then if they got just a little bit of success, you've got it on the back there in one of your posters, if they got just a little bit of success, it would give them this kind of confidence that would lead them in an upward spiral of that success felt good. I got good feedback from people. Maybe I'm not a loser. Maybe I'm not an addict. Next phase 2, let's do another decision. It turns out good, right? And that kind of spiral of success would lead them out of the depth of hell that they were in.
Yeah.
So let's talk test tubes.
Oh.
So here's a real short on how to build a business in an afternoon and how to turn it into enough money to start the business you want to start.
All right. Well, this part is blocked for $97, so I'll split the revenue with you since we're teaching people here.
I love it. All right. This is a poster of a test tube from 1984. And it says test tube babies at the bottom.
Yep.
Okay. So I know it's hard to see with the reflection of that.
No, I can see it pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. So it's got little babies jumping in.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's funny.
Cool part. All right. So So there was a front page of one of the major consumer magazines at the time that had a illustration photo. You'd Photoshop it today, or similar, or you just go through Chat or Mid-Journey. But what it was a picture of a fetus inside a test tube across the page, and it said, "Congratulations, 10-year anniversary of the first in vitro fertilization or the first test tube baby."
Wow.
So I saw that, and I knew that I'd done a lot of pattern recognition when I was young, just as a habit of being an inquisitive kid when I was very young and studying magazines and books and reading like crazy and stuff. And what I knew was that magazine that was a hierarchical magazine. So once that magazine was called Life Magazine, right? That would then hit People Magazine. Then it would land on Business Week. Then it would land on, right? And it would just keep doing this thing for about 6 months. So if I could come up with a product that would align with test tube babies, I would get free advertising on the front page of major magazines at the magazine stand for 6 months. And that would be all free advertising, right? And if you can wipe out your ad cost, whether it's PPC, pay-per-click, or print or whatever, you're way ahead of the game.
Yep.
So what I did is I called my stepdad, who owned a clinical laboratory in Portland, Oregon, and I said, "Hey, Jack, I need some venture capital." Now, keep in mind, I'm a high school dropout at the time. I'm in the Air Force, right? And
Where is this in the timeline of? Is this with Bioptimizers still, or are you?
No, this is 1980s.
Okay, this is early in the game.
Early as my first entrepreneurial journey. I joined the Air Force to save enough money to start a company. I knew in 8th grade I needed to be an entrepreneur. So the way to do it, my stepdad said, "Look, here's the deal. I didn't grow up with money. You know, I bought my own school clothes and stuff, picked berries during the summer, and had a paper route, and worked at a tennis club and did all that stuff. So, but he said, "You'll never make money working for the other guy." And so, when I was in 8th grade, and so people that drove Porsches, Cadillacs, and Mercedes were the other guy. So I got to know people that drove Porsches, Cadillacs, and Mercedes at a tennis and swim club, and so turned that into my mentorship. Was that early mentorship? So we fast forward. I called my stepdad and I said, "Hey, Jack, you see the front cover?" And he goes, "Of course." I said, "Well, hey, I need some venture capital. I've been reading Inc. magazine and books on finance and books on entrepreneurship." Again, this is the early 80s.
Yep.
And he once he was done laughing at me, going, "Yeah, you should probably get your high school diploma before you start begging for capital." And he said, "What do you need?" And I said, "Well, I need test tubes. I've got these little plastic babies, but I need test tubes to put them in. And so they're going to cost me, I think, 17 cents a piece or 29 cents a piece or something." And he goes, "Well, that's a clever idea. I like it, but like a Shark Tank, I'm out."
Yeah.
But a week later, I'm riding my bike back from the base to the little cottage I live in off base, and there's a UPS guy dumping off a bunch of boxes, and it's got a card on it, and it says, "Dear Mark, here's your venture capital, love, Jack." And what it was a bunch of these what are called vacutainers, which are test tubes you use for drawing blood, right? They put the needle in you, and then they put this up to it, and it's got a vacuum, and it draws the blood.
Yeah.
Well, these are dated, so they've got an anticoagulant in them, so the blood doesn't harden, doesn't coagulate. And so that anticoagulant, at the time, died at 6 months. And so he had a whole bunch of them in the corner of a warehouse that was in his clinical laboratory. He had 2,000 of them, so he sent me all 2,000 of them.
Wow, nice.
That was my venture capital.
Hey,
So I stuck little babies in them. My girlfriend at the time, Elise, Vic Ferrari, my roommate, Tony Ferrara, and I put a big boiling pot of water, poured 100 babies at a time in it, took bong hits, thrust our hands in, and shoved them into test tubes, and the babies fit.
Holy crap.
And then I sold those at little mini marts in Central California, where I was stationed. And I sold 800 of them. And then I was at my church one day. The pastor's wife said, "What's this baby thing you're doing?" I said, "Oh, these are test tube babies. I thought they were really funny." She goes, "How many you got left?" And I said, "About 1,200. She goes, "Great, I'll buy them all from you." And so they bought them all from me. They handed them out at the abortion clinic, of course. That was their plan for it. Right. So not my intention at all. But anyhow, I made enough money from that to buy my first laser, to start my first laser company. And so I did laser technology companies. I did 3 of those in a row. But fast forward today, or 3 years ago, is one of my big customers who was a well-known executive coach, a guy named Brad Costanza, and he opened up a box of my products with these test tubes in them. by the way, that's why they're test tubes, is a little homage to my first company.
Oh, cool.
Got
Yeah,
it.
I like that. I like that.
And so he dumps out test tubes out of a priority mailbox and said, something like, this is the best stuff in the world. It's the only nootropic I use. And there was just a big thread of people going, what do you mean? What's this? How does that compare to other stuff? What about Alpha Brain? What about, what about Qualia? And he goes, no, this blows all of them away. They're customized for you. They're customized, personalized, and optimized for your age, your sex, your biology, what food you eat, how often you exercise, your sleep patterns, everything. So everything is customized. And this guy, by the way, this is how you sell your company. So this guy named Matt Gallant sees it on Facebook, happens to be a friend of my customer, who's also a friend, and says, hey, Brad, what is this stuff? And he goes, oh, man, this stuff's the best. He goes, can you hook me up with this guy? And Matt had a feeling right then that was the thing he'd been trying to build himself. He had a very successful nutritional supplement company focused on gut health, and he'd been trying to build nootropics. He loved nootropics. He took them all. He'd spent about $150K trying to build something. And when you're buying a company, you have this decision you go through called build or buy. And how long will it take me, and how much will it cost me to build, and how much market opportunity will I lose if I start from zero right now and try to get there? Or is there an existing company that's undercapitalized or undermarketed, or I could add my skill set to it and immediately get there? And so that's what Matt saw. We got on the phone or in a Zoom call about a month later, and he said, hey, love your stuff. I've been buying it now for the last month. Tried it. Really rocks. Do you want to sell your company? I said, no. And he goes, great. He goes, that's the right answer. So we had these great conversations we kept doing every Friday. We would have a 1 to 5 hour conversation with our COO is in London, Matt is in Panama, and I was in Portland, and then eventually here in the Midwest. And after 4 months or so, and tens of thousands of dollars of product that he would buy, and he would give it to his business partner, Wade Lightheart, who's a world-class bodybuilder. And at that point, he came up with this idea. He said, let's do this. Let's try something. Let's try and create a new brand called Nootopia. And so it's a nootropic. It's modifications of the same formulas we did, but a truncated set. I had like 33 formulas. He wanted to do 9 of them. And let's launch them under a new brand. We're going to make it so that people can't see who you are. We're going to use a vocoder so they can't hear your voice, because your voice is relatively distinctive. And let's do a Facebook Live with you as a vocoder with just a still image of this, Mr. Newts, and let's see what happens. And when we finished, after about 2.5 hours, I forget how much revenue we generated, something like $30,000 in revenue.
Nice.
But it was below the cost of building up the packaging and getting the rebrand done and all that stuff. And it was about 21% less than what we needed to break even.
Yeah.
But he called me right after we were done with the call. He called me and he goes, dude, can you believe it? And I said, I don't know. Can I? Because I thought, we lost 21%. That's a no-go. We're just going to shelve this idea and it's over. And he goes, are you kidding? No. He goes, if we were 80% down, I can fix that. I know how to get good at that. I can iterate and iterate and iterate and make a profit. At minus 21, I can rock this thing. The next month we were profitable, and so we built that business. So, so we've got this very cool, I think it's cool, incredible business with and we make, basically, as I mentioned, we make custom brain-enhancing supplements. And over the last 2.5 years, we've built, we've grown it 600%, and it's continuing to grow rapidly.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, and we make here. So this is an example. So this is one of our packets. It's called a mag pack, and then we've got these capsules in here. They're very, very unique. And when we have test tubes with drink mix, this is called Gobalicious. This replaces your evening martini.
Okay.
Yep.
Get you buzzed also?
What's that?
To get you buzzed also?
Yeah, it gives you a light buzz. But you,
Really?
yeah. The idea was, and we have other stuff in that line. In fact, we made before we joined Bioptimizers, we made the first legal all organic, natural MDMA, Molly.
Wow.
So
And that's legal to sell to US, like
yeah,
anywhere?
yeah, yeah. It didn't use any drugs. It was all. I did a what's called a potentiation, where I took a kava molecule and I made it act like you're drinking gallons of kava, with a kana molecule, which is a South African plant,
Mm-hmm.
and got those two together. So you had lots of GABA flowing and lots of serotonin flowing, and then these bumps of dopamine. And so that combined made you feel like you were on a light roll. If anybody that's Molly familiar, so that
Yeah.
was kind of, yeah. We did a lot of that. We did $2.7 million of that the first 8-9 months. So
Wow.
but we
So
don't
you,
do that with this business, but it was yeah, it's great.
okay, so you don't currently sell the MDMA that was with the old business?
Yeah, yeah, it was an old business. And it was another. I know. It was another. It was a really good friend of mine, Dolan, Dolan Ramsey, who was very big in the rave scene, who
Okay.
said,
That
"I've
makes
seen
sense.
this thing," and I was going. My whole thing was get people off drugs and get them to perform well.
Hmm.
Like, as an entrepreneur, you're
Oh, I guess if
you're
you can replace the street version with a clean version that's
right.
non-addictive or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so what we were doing, our whole thing was do no harm. Is people that would typically do Molly at events. What we saw was they would do Molly, they would come off of the, and they'd dance for 2 or 3 days, and then they would hide in a corner for a week, trying to
Yep.
replenish their dopamine and get their motivation back, their head back,
Yep.
and dehydration and everything else that comes with that. And what we did was said, okay, here, we're going to eliminate the dehydration issue. We're going to eliminate the dopamine deprivation issue, where you basically use up all the dopamine, you have to repair it, restore it. We're going to get your serotonin levels balanced, and we're going to get your GABA levels really working well. So you would get the roll, you would feel really good, you get the roll and everything, but you were restoring dopamine rather than using it all up.
Wow.
So yeah, very cool. And we do some stuff. We have a product called Dopa Drops that we do here with Nootopia, which is essentially that. It basically is a dopamine recovery and restoration molecule that doesn't it doesn't downregulate. Downregulate is what happens when you take a drug or a substance that signals your body to quit making its native substance. That's what happens when you take like an SSRI, a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, which is like an antidepressant.
Yeah.
What it does is it signals the body to quit creating serotonin. So it just traps the serotonin between the synapse. When that happens, that means that after the drug wears off, you have a low level of serotonin, so you feel like crap, you get depressed again, you hide in a corner, and then you take the drug again and you feel better. And
Yeah.
so you go through this constant cycle. And what we felt the only way to do it was to upregulate your system to be able to create as much dopamine, give it the precursors to create dopamine, and now you've got this machine that feels pleasure, that gets reward, the two key things with dopamine, right?
Yep.
Pleasure, reward, and the motivation, but it always keeps reserved so you never run out. So you can push yourself really hard, whether it's pumping iron in the gym or going out and doing something that's really dopaminergic, doom scrolling on Facebook or on Instagram or TikTok.
Yep.
Instead of using up all the dopamine, you're using it, but you're also replenishing it at a faster rate than it's being used up. So, yeah, kind of cool stuff.
Wow, that's interesting. So you currently sell, is that basically powderized alcohol or something? What is the Gobalicious? Yeah, it sounds like
There is powdered alcohol. You can get powdered alcohol. We've actually made some here. It's kind of fun.
wow, that's crazy. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you just add
how does
just add water.
yeah, how does Gobalicious, how does it give you a buzz? Like how does it compare to a martini?
Oh, it's a much lighter than your third martini, but it's very close to your first martini. So what it does is it modulates the GABA receptors. GABA receptors are the chill receptors
Okay.
that use it. That's typically the primary activity that happens when you have vodka, let's say, right?
Got it.
Especially clear alcohols are more towards GABA. So once the GABA is activated, your GABA activation basically removes that your executive brain function that says I have to be critical, everything's black and white, I have to do these things, right? And it says, hey man, chill a little bit. Maybe black and white isn't where we're at. Maybe gray's okay.
Yeah.
So that's how GABAlicious works. I built it as a conversational drink. We also have another GABA, very highly GABA-centric product called Zamner Juice. Let me see if I can get this in focus. Boom. Oh, there we go.
Nice.
Zemner.
Okay. Looks like a
Now this
spray.
was named. So yeah, it's a sublingual spray. I developed this because I had a client who owned urgency care clinics in the Pacific Northwest, and there's two main highways from Portland to Vancouver, Washington, Portland, Oregon to Vancouver, Washington, and they're Interstate 205 and Interstate 5.
Yeah.
I-5 all the way up the West Coast is a traffic jam about half the time.
Yeah.
So, yep, Los Angeles is, Silicon Valley, San Jose, all that is always a jam. So, she was doing that, running these multiple urgency care clinics between Portland and Vancouver, and she was getting stuck in traffic because traffic is awful in that area. And every time she gets stuck in traffic, she'd want to go grab the trucker in front of her, pull him out of the cab, get in the cab, lock the door, and then just mow over all of the cars in front of her. So she said that probably wouldn't be really healthy for her, might be detrimental to her business, probably really good for business in terms of putting people in urgent care, but otherwise it'd be bad, right?
Create your
So
customers.
yeah, exactly. So I needed to develop something that would act really fast, and so sublingual, under the tongue, is the fastest way to get many compounds into the body. If they don't require the stomach acid or base to break them down, you can do that. So I developed a GABA-centric spray that elevates your mood, that gets you immediately feeling cool and chill, but you're wakeful. Your wakefulness is up. And she loved it. And then I found a lot of our public speakers and executives that had to be in meetings using this before meetings, before podcasts, before other things. Because it increased, one of the other attributes of good GABA is that it increases verbal fluency, so that when you're having dialogue with people, the words that you're seeking are there. Your ability to recall memories and events and those things are higher. So yeah, very effective.
Wow, I need that for the podcast.
I'm going to send you a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I think I actually got a care pack. I haven't dove into it yet.
Oh,
So,
dude.
I'll be honest. There's actually two questions now I want to ask you just based on all the products that we're seeing. So one is I'm personally a little cautious about the consumption of things. Like I got
It's a
my
good
wisdom
thing.
teeth. I got my wisdom teeth took out. Never took the painkillers. Like I did my
Holy crap, man.
yeah. I just I'm really weird. I'll take Tylenol and ibuprofen, but I don't like anything more than that. I'm weird about substances. I don't know what they are. So
Sure.
I that's one thing. The second thing is something that I've personally experienced, and my generation as a millennial a lot has experienced, which is like anxiety.
Yeah,
It kind of sounds like the last two things you talked about are almost like an anti-anxiety, like chill you out, calm you down, like
big
hey,
time.
not the end of the world kind of thing. So are those two focused on like, do you have anything specific, anti-anxiety, calming, anything like that?
Yeah. Well, those two are really great in that. And the Gabalicious, you mix it up in a drink. You can mix it up in 24 to 30 ounces of water, 32 ounces of water. You can just sip it all day.
Oh,
This
wow. Okay.
this 3 to 6 sprays, and you're chill again, but you don't lose your edge. It's not chill like, oh, I'm non-functional now, or I don't care now, I'm not motivated. It's chill, and everything we use is organic. We audit the farms, we audit the extraction technologies. We develop some of our own extraction technologies. We then do we do all the heavy metal testing and everything else. And then when it comes here, whether to my lab here or to our manufacturing in either Northern California or in Portland, Oregon, all of that is then sequestered, retested, and then put in. So we want to be, we call it seed to supplement. Is we
farm
try
to
to
table.
manage. Yeah, exactly. It's a farm to table of supplements. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a really important thing. And the other thing we do is when we test compounds, we have a lab in Bosnia. We basically fund one whole wing of a microbiology lab in Bosnia with 22 or 23 employees now, PhDs, PhD candidates.
Wow.
And all they do for us 24/7 is they take the compounds, they run them through different test metrics and safety metrics, and they tell us which compound from which farm, from which seed, from which time of the year, from which country is the most effective in the active ingredients that we use. And then what's the cleanest? And then we focus on that, and we just help make them better. So like you, I'm also not one to. There's a thing in the biohacking world where there's two kinds of biohackers, and if you know who Dave Asprey is, or do you know
Heard of
of?
him. Asprey.
Okay,
He's in like fitness workout stuff.
he's kind of the patron saint of biohacking. He's the guy that came up with bulletproof coffee. If you've ever heard of
Oh,
bulletproof
okay.
coffee.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. So that's the guy. That's Dave Asprey. So he has an event every year in Florida that about 5,000 people show up, and these are all people that are considered biohackers. So these are the hardcore people that take it. So there are two kinds of biohackers. They're the people that you hand them a pill, and they look at it and they go, "What's in this? How does it work? What's the method of action?
Yep.
Right? How dangerous is it? What should I take it with? When should I take it? How
Yep.
long is it going to affect?" Right? And then there's the other ones that you hand them the pill, they take it and they go, "Hey, what was that?" So you're the
Yeah.
former.
Yeah. See,
Um,
it's funny. I flip flopped when I was in college. I didn't care. I was like, oh hey, cool, whatever. But now I got kids. I got to make sure I got people to look out for and stuff. I got to be a little more cautious with everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's important. And I assure you, all the stuff that you've got in your kit is optimized, and so you should be able to take all that. Hopefully, I'm not sure if you received one of these yet. If you haven't, we'll make sure and get you some.
Which one is
This is
that?
called Collagenius.
Okay.
Yep. So this
Like
is
collagen?
well, I know it's kind of a reverse name. It's actually a super potent 4-mushroom extract compound with collagen.
Okay. So it's similar to like mud water.
It's
Say
it's
mud water's mushroom based, isn't it?
I think it's about 6,000% more powerful than mud water. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
So you know how you take a little packet of mud water, you add it to your coffee, or you put it in water and you take
Yep.
it. And by the way, I'm not dissing mud water. It's a great product. There's
Shots fired.
um,
No.
yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
But Collagenius, for every 18 grams of this, so you've got a scoop, right? 18-gram scoop of this, you have 1.5 pounds of pure lion's mane, red reishi, right? Cordyceps extract.
Yeah.
So it's very, very powerful. You're doing a lot of brain rebuilding, cardiovascular and physiological rebuilding, adrenal restoration, all of the things that naturally occur with mushrooms. It's an incredible baseline. It also is an incredible nootropic. You'll notice when you take it, you just feel better. I add 1 scoop, which is half a dose. I add 1 scoop to my coffee in the morning. There's a guy named Andrew Huberman who's kind of like the
Yep. I watch him all the time. Yep.
awesome dude. Let me see here. Here we go. Yeah. So, Andy B is the dude.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, great guy. So,
Yeah.
Here's a clue. Here's my first chemistry set when I was 6 years old.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool, man.
I was made to do this.
Yeah,
So-
it seems like it.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So, entrepreneurship. Ask me something that you think would be valuable for your listening audience regarding.
Yeah.
This is my 18th company, so it's
Yeah,
not my first rodeo.
Yeah, for sure. So first thing actually real quick, the collagens, that sounds like it's basically like a multivitamin. Like you take that, you said it helps brain, cardiovascular, kind of just
Yeah.
repairs everything.
It is a baseline. If what you want to do as a human being, and especially as an entrepreneur, is you want to continue to enhance your baseline operating, kind of your OS, and you want to improve your OS.
That's a good way to look
so
at it.
Right. So if you're always operating at a slightly higher level on a week to week or month to month basis, you're going to have cycles. You're going to get sick at times. You're going to have problems. You're going to be stressed. You're going to have more kids, or or the wife's going to have some issues or whatever. And those things compound. The better you build your OS, the stronger you become indomitable. Your whole goal is to create an indomitable physiology and neurology, so that as the issues happen, as you get into financial stress, as you get into time stress, as your kids have challenges, you want to be able to face those without backing down. You want to be able to do it. You want to confront them with some level of integrity and clarity, and that's what kind of things like Collagenius do. Is they raise your baseline. That's all of our nootropics are made to keep enhancing your neurology and physiology, even when you go off of them. So when you go off of them, you've enhanced your baseline. You're up there, and you can selectively take them. I mean, our whole program is what operating state do you need to be in? When you and I got on this call, we wanted to be friendly, conversational. We wanted to pass knowledge on to your listenership.
Yeah.
We wanted to explore each other and find out a little bit about how we, each of us got here. And we hopefully there'll be enough of an envelope around this whole thing that people don't go, that was the most ADD conversation I've ever heard. So there's some storytelling in there and some other stuff. So that requires a certain kind of balance of or orchestration of neurotransmitters in the brain. So we want to have acetylcholine up pretty high. We want to have dopamine so that we have this nice conversational flow going back and forth. We want to have enough serotonin that we feel positive. So we have a positive lean. We're not like too much dopamine and you can just be an asshole. You just Gatling gun and just the facts, man, just the facts. And we want to have enough GABA that we're not so intense that we overwhelm we overwhelm each other, or we just, are not having fun. So this, and then we want enough noradrenaline that we're not putting our audience to sleep.
Yeah.
So that's an orchestration. And so everything we made is built to orchestrate the exact amount of neurochemicals for the time we need them for the activities that we're doing. So if I'll take an ultimate focus. If I need to go get something done, right? If I need to get shit done and need to get it done now, I'll take an ultimate focus 20 to 40 minutes before I need that activity to start. I might go I've got a gym here in my building that we built, and I'll go do some hardcore quad workouts, some leg workouts, and train so that so my large muscles are pumped, because I know that will activate certain genetic characteristics, certain hormones that are going to give me a little more performance on that thing. And then just before that, I might take a thing called brain flow, and that brain flow is going to give me enough of a nice acetylcholine, about a 6-hour acetylcholine process, that I'm just going to be able to sit down and write if I need to, or I'm going to be able to have back-to-back meetings, 2 Zoom meetings, 3 employee meetings here at the lab, and I'm going to be able to do those without losing my edge, without feeling like I need to reboot between each one, outside of maybe taking a pee. And so that's the whole thing, is if you start looking at how you want to orchestrate your life, I call it your success rhythm, is
like that.
You want to be able to augment your natural characteristics. Do you know who Stephen Pressfield is? He wrote a book called a great book called The War of Art. I highly suggest you get it. It's a fast read. I used to read it. I used to bring a brand new copy of the paperback with me. I would take people to lunch and I would read them the book. Steve Pressfield wrote a famous book called The War of Art is the book that he wrote about how to be a writer. But he wrote The Legend of Beggar Vance, which is a famous movie with Will Smith in it. It's great. So he loves golf and some other stuff.
So he wrote a book about how to write a book, basically.
Correct. He wrote like, here's how to write. Here's how to be a writer.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know, right? It sounds very meta.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Aaron Sorkin earlier, who I think is just a genius writer.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about the book. And now he's a former Marine, by the way, hardcore Marine. And he said, here's the deal. He goes, when I sit down to write, I do these little rituals. I prepare myself, and then I don't care whether the writing sucks or whether it's great. I don't know how long I'm going to write for. All I know is I'm going to put pen to paper. He actually writes on an old Selectric typewriter. I'm going to just start typing or writing until I start making mistakes. And at one point, I'll just go, okay, I made all the mistakes, and I'm going to go walk in the Hollywood Hills. But what he did is a really brilliant thing, is he calls the thing that you face down when you face a blank piece of paper, he basically gave it a name, and he calls it the resistance. And so he goes, the resistance is there to keep you from doing the thing that you were called to do. Like if you and I are called to be entrepreneurs and to help entrepreneurs succeed, right? That's our calling. Anything that keeps us from doing that is the resistance.
Yeah.
And once you recognize the resistance, you see the resistance all over. So they're very short chapters. They're like a page and a half is each chapter in the book. But he basically describes the resistance and how to beat the resistance a million different ways. It's a fantastic book.
Wow.
but when you and I wake up in the morning, especially if we have a spouse and we've got rugrats and the rest, there's a certain pattern that is our kind of our ideal pattern. Like I like to do a 20-minute meditation. I like binaural audio with my meditation. I like to write. I like to journal if I can. I like to creatively write. I like to explore my calendar and see how, is it serving me? Am I serving it? Who's the lead of this? I'd like to investigate and almost put an intention out to what is it that I'm really hoping to accomplish? What do I want to do to help somebody today that's going to make a monumental difference in their life? Like that's my big calling is how do I make a monumental contribution to every life I touch? So who is that person or what is that thing or what's the event that's going to allow me to do that today or to me to get closer to that today? Mm-hmm. So orchestrating your success rhythm, creating that is what I hope that these tools, these Nootopia tools can do for people. And we've got tens of thousands of people that have, said, yes, they do that for me. Yeah. So, but that's the thing is, so being able to not have to wait for the muse to show up, to not have to wait for motivation to come in, mm-hmm. to not be addicted to something like an Adderall or like alcohol or whatever in order to feel like you can get the courage to accomplish something, and to be able to do it in a way that is increasing your performance, dynamic, your baseline performance on a regular basis. That's kind of the ultimate goal. Mm-hmm. And whether you're an entrepreneur or you want to work for somebody, and by the way, I don't discredit people. I've spent a lot of time with people that want to be entrepreneurs but don't have the heart of an entrepreneur. They've got the mind, but they don't have the heart. Is being able to couple them with people that are entrepreneurs, inherent entrepreneurs, who can fill in the blanks for them, mm-hmm. can be all the difference, right? So they get to play in a new area. They get to explore their genius, mm-hmm. and they get to go in there. Like when I met Matt Gallant, the founder of Bioptimizers. Yeah. What I found was a guy that said, "Hey, I have an idea of where you rock, and I have an idea of where you suck. I'm going to go put some robust pillars under the areas where you suck, so that you've got people that take care of that stuff." And then I'm going to give you the tools to go and really, really accelerate the things that you're good at. Yeah. And when you find those people, don't be afraid to drop your guard and say, "Hey, you're absolutely right. How do we join forces to make it so that we can both do the things?" He wanted somebody that could formulate at the level that me and my partners can formulate. By the way, and he's a genius formulator himself. And so having that has so provided velocity to my life, to my business. Mm-hmm. It's provided a much happier place to play. I didn't mind running my business. It was a great business. We were continuing to be fast growth. But there's a lot of shit that I hate. I hate making payroll every Monday. Mm. I hated, and I was good at it, but did not contribute to my bottom line. Yeah. I didn't like having to go through all of the articulations of a piece of capital equipment and then having to work with the financing company to get that piece of capital equipment. Yeah. I didn't like having to tell an employee that they sucked and that we needed to figure out a different relationship. Mm. And I wasn't patient enough at times to say, "Hey, you suck at this, but I really love this part about you. Let's do what Matt's done for me. Let's get rid of the roadblocks to your success, and let's go, build some scaffolding to the things that you're great at." Yeah. So, yeah.
So basically outsourcing all the stuff that you don't like doing so that you can really focus in on what you do like doing.
I have never seen in my life, Kevin, I've never seen the 4-hour work week, the Tim Ferriss 101 model.
You got that up there.
That's the one, man. Yeah. I was just listening to his interview with Seinfeld. It's really fantastic.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, just came out. It's well worth it. But and in the early days of the 4-hour work week, I got to help promote that book. I did PR for it. We had a company called prweb.com back then. But yeah, so I remember when my first email with him was, "Hey Tim, it looks like you're it doesn't look like you're working 4 hours a week." He goes, "No, man." He goes, "I'm working 80 to 85 hours a week in order to promote the concept of the 4-hour work week."
Oh, that's so funny.
But I love what I do, and yeah. So yeah. But I think it's really important for, like, what was your, what number is this for you as far as entrepreneurial ventures? How old are you, Kevin?
So I'm 30. I actually kind of wanted to get in that a little bit because I think I can actually tie in entrepreneurship and your kind of biohacking company. First thing, I wanted to talk a little bit about, you mentioned the heart and the mind of an entrepreneur, that you would see someone that had one but not the other. I'm curious kind of what the difference is and maybe even trying to self-identify a little bit here.
Sure, sure. And I think that's a great question. And again, I started my first company in 1986, sold it in 1987, made some money there. And then the next one was an Inc. 500 company. I hacked the Inc. 500 and was able to do it in 1 year, whereas at the time it took 5 years to become an Inc. 500 company.
Yeah.
Same thing here. We became Inc. 500 last year. They acquired me that year, and I became Inc. 500. So
Nice.
as a result of them being in business and me being in business and we both being fast growth, it was great. So, but
Yeah.
the mind of an entrepreneur is you can think about the problem that you want to solve that you think is big enough to build a business around. And maybe you've got the technology prowess to be able to do things like, whether it's hook up with Squarespace and do a website or get on WordPress and put it together. You've got maybe the ability to recruit some people and evangelize your product or sell your product. But what you don't have is the ability to handle the really tough downside negative things that are going to come in. So the mental part of you is really good, but the ability to handle the shit that's going to inevitably come down kills you. You suddenly get, you can't focus, you can't articulate, you can't perform. And by the way, of the 18 companies I've done, I've had that problem in 3 of those companies. So in other words, I've always had the heart of an entrepreneur, but in 3 of those 18 companies, that heart left me because I wasn't healthy, I wasn't taking care of myself, and I didn't have the guts to go ask the people that had the answers because I was afraid of exposing my own inherent weakness. So, and I had early success. I mean, I was down to $300 on a credit card when I sold my first company. So it wasn't a success, but it was a success because what came of it was incredible.
Yeah.
But, it sold at the last minute. And I wouldn't have lasted another 2 weeks. But, they picked me up and they gave me some money. They paid my brother out and they gave me some, and we did really well. We became, again, I think at that time we were the 387th fastest growing private company in America. This is what we became that year. So, yeah, but that's also a byproduct of growth. Growth costs money. You can't grow fast and not eat up capital.
Yeah.
So the hard thing for me was, the hard heart thing for me was that I knew all the technical things to do and I could execute on most of them. And I had unlimited horsepower. When I was young, I still consider myself young today. I'm 61, almost 62. But I had the energy to execute. My whole thing was, because I didn't have a degree, I just had to outwork everybody. Right? So I wasn't going to do it through my academic achievements, and I didn't have my alma mater to be able to call to. But, like Andy in the office, I couldn't, mention that. But what I could do, and by the way, it's so funny is when you're in that position, a high school dropout making tech companies, flying to Silicon Valley on a monthly basis and doing those things, is you don't have the confidence that these guys that have the Harvard or the Stanford, right, PhD or master's. But at one point, I started moderating because I didn't have the degree. What I could do, and I was a seasoned entrepreneur and I'd had enough liquidity events, I could go on stage and I could interview VCs and entrepreneurs in front of hundreds or thousands of entrepreneurs, and I could ask them intelligent questions because I'd been there.
Yeah, you got the experience.
Right, I was relatively articulate. So I could do that, and so that started giving me the confidence so that when I was on a plane flying from Portland to San Jose or Portland to San Francisco or LA, is the guy sitting next to me is a VC. He's working for Hummer Winblad or one of these well-known firms. It used to be when he would say, "Hey, what's your alma mater?" Because we'd have a conversation, it'd be intelligent, And I would then skirt that and go, oh, wait, where'd you go to school? Where'd you study? And I would try to get out of that conversation. Eventually, I would say, yeah, I'm a high school dropout. And I would do it with confidence because I knew at that point, when we were at the point of what's your alma mater, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
They were already convinced that I had that I was smart enough to be in that conversation with them. So that was great. So the heart and the mind, you need to be able to understand what your limitations are. It's really great to go through whether it's, things like Myers-Briggs tests or, a strength finder. I highly recommend everybody take the strength finder test. It's cheap. You can get the book for 15 or
spits out, it's like 25 or 30 different metrics, tells you what you're
correct.
bottom. Yep, I've done that.
Yep,
one.
and you're going to have your top 5 in each area.
Yep.
So the cool thing about that, and what it was very powerful, first time I took that test, I was dating Tony Robbins' executive assistant.
No
and
way.
So, and she was as hardcore as Tony is when it comes to personal growth.
Wow.
So it was great. It was great. So Christine Gunn, big shout out, Christine.
Wow.
And she said she saw me. I was running an incubator in Southern California, in Newport Beach, California, technology incubator during the early days of the internet. So we would basically vet business plans. We would bring investors in, and we would pair them up with with applicable businesses. So I did 522 of those businesses, starting the day that I got there back in 1999.
Wow.
So yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Tanner and Adams, my partner in crime on that. Big shout out, Tanner. He just moved to Portugal I think he worked for Microsoft and decided to retire in Portugal. Really great kid. Really great kid.
Yeah.
But the thing is if you don't know how, if you think that you can do it all, that's okay, but recognize that you're not nearly as good as a domain expert in that area.
Yeah.
And the only way to succeed is to collect domain experts. I don't know if you know who Mark Tarpenning and Martin Eberhard are, but they were the original founders of Tesla.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I sold them software back in the late 90s, compression software. It was really cool. So, and they talked about, just after we were doing that deal, we sold our company to them eventually. They made the first ebook. It was called Rocket ebook. It became the Kindle, the framework for the Kindle.
Wow.
So, and talking to them about Tesla, the problem was Martin Eberhard, who's super brilliant, and Mark Tarpenning, his partner, they were so good that they almost didn't fill in the blanks with the guys that were super domain experts. Mm-hmm. And as a result, and they tried to they did a really good job. They sold their company for, I think it was 160 million or 130 million. So they sold theirs. So they had a little cash to work from. Not Musk level cash, but some cash. Yeah. And then they brought in Elon, and Elon became the third partner, and then eventually Elon took it over. And but when I don't care how bright you are, how much money you have, if you don't bring in those domain experts, which means that you have to be able to say, I'm not nearly as good as that person, meaning that you have to have enough confidence to know what that person should look like. Mm-hmm. You have to have enough insight to kind of define who they are. But you also have to have enough, you have to be humble enough to go, that guy's so much better than me. And also be able to tell them that openly. Hey, by the way, I suck compared to you at this thing. I'm so glad to, you want to come and visit us, and it would be great if you wanted to stay. We've got a place for you, and that'll make a big difference. So that's the heart versus the head. And I don't short anybody. You can build incredible companies as a one-person show. There's a number of them on YouTube, as you've seen. Mm-hmm. You can build really multi-million-dollar companies as a one-person show. But it is a different business. It is a different business than having, I walk right out my door here in my podcasting lab, which I've got 2 guitars and a bass right here. I've got a drum set. I've got
nice.
a leg machine here, and I've got an upward, and I've got some biochemistry research tools over here. Yeah, it's kind of fun. But I walk 5 steps down the hall, and I'm at a robotics expert that we found in this town, of all places. So he's building robots to automate our technology. And then I go right across the hall, and Chastity, I'm very fortunate to be my sweetheart as well, she's concocting all kinds of flavoring formulas to make stuff that would normally taste like crap taste great. And then she's also organizing the delivery of all these so that we have a real-time iteration of products. Those are way beyond my scope of brilliance or even desire.
Yeah.
But as a result of that, the leverage I'm able to get in this company is significant. I'm able to operate like 4 or 5 people and do it at a pace that doesn't completely burn me out every week.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's a great explanation. I guess to answer your question directly about mine, I guess I truly just started my first entrepreneurship journey, venture, whatever. And funny enough, it's not even in this space. It's a food truck with me and a couple high school buddies or, longtime best friends. But I've kind of been, I guess, more, I don't know what you would call it, freelancer, solopreneur type thing. The last 8 years, I've been in pretty deep in marketing and sales, doing a lot of Facebook ads, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, all that stuff now. Been in and out of agencies, had some of my own clients on the side here and there. And kind of in this weird spot now where I feel like I'm almost trying to break out of a comfort zone. So kind of similar, actually very similar to the whole scenario you laid out at the beginning. Small town, it's basically move out or work in one of the factories. We're the biggest car manufacturing hub around. I knew I didn't want to do that. I suck at college. Honestly, just partied and failed out of college. So,
what were you trying to major in?
I changed it 3 times, but it was always business or marketing. I always.
Yep.
The thing is, I grew up. I didn't grow up poor, but I grew up where, we didn't have big birthday parties. Sometimes dinner was ravioli and ramen kind of thing.
Right.
So I always knew I wanted money, and the only way that I knew how to do that was to, I don't know, not do what everybody around me was doing, which was factories and working at gas stations and shit. So I kind of just happened to venture into Facebook ads and got good at it. And I'm the first person in my whole family to even make a 6-figure income from doing something. So I'm in a weird spot now to where my direct circle, I'm kind of how they say if you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're the richest one, I'm kind of I don't know. I guess it's hard to say with my ego, but I'm kind of at the top of the room, and now I'm trying to figure out where the next room is, and I'm in this weird comfort zone of all my bills are on auto pay. Do I really need to go get more clients? Do I really need to do that? And but I don't want to look back and say hey, why didn't you maximize your potential there? I'm kind of stuck in this weird, and even tying it back to the bio thing. Even me, I probably had 10 hours on TikTok last week just scrolling. So it's
Right.
you kind of, I'm not stuck in a rut because I'm doing good, but I'm not doing great at the
Can
moment.
I share something in regards to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Matt Gallant, my partner and the CEO of this company, has been a serial entrepreneur forever as well. He and I have parallel lives in a lot of ways. And he's from a tiny town of around 600 people on the eastern seaboard of Canada.
Wow.
So, yeah, and we're the 245th fastest growing private company in America, and the number 3, 4, 5 in the nutritional supplement space, and we kick out some serious jams dollar wise and revenue wise.
Yeah.
So I asked him about, by the way, this conversation fuels me like few other things. So just so you know, so I really appreciate you taking the time for this.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's great. So Matt was doing, he had a software company doing click tracking. So you know what click tracking is,
Yep.
right? So pixel placement, click tracking.
Yep.
It also did click fraud identification, which was great because it could filter out all the bot clicks and the rest.
Yep.
And then he had another online business doing content around bodybuilding and fitness. And then he had this Bioptimizers, and they started Bioptimizers in 2004. So this has been around a while.
Mm-hmm.
But it just it got up quickly to over $1 million, and then it just floated for a long time, while Matt and Wade, the two founders, tried to figure out what their relationship was in terms of business and how what they enjoyed. And Matt was doing, at one point he had I think $6 million plus businesses running all at one time.
Wow.
And he was working 20 hours a week. He was taking 2 months off a year to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And he lives in Panama. He lives in a beautiful penthouse in Panama that he owns. and about a 6,500 square foot place, 3 levels, at the top of a, on top
Nice.
of a skyscraper overlooking all of Panama City.
Wow.
But just he's actually a really really down to earth guy. But I said, why this? I said, why did you decide? Because he had to abandon all of those in order to do this. And one is some great mentorship. He's member of a couple of of really good leadership groups. And he said, I realized that if and this was again through some insights from guys that he highly respected, said, if I took the same amount of energy and put it into this one thing, and I kept spinning the plates like I do, because he's very good at, I don't think there's not an area of the business that he's not competent in, and some he's genius in. And marketing is one area where he's genius, for sure, among other things. And we have a blast formulating together as well. So he's got some good depth and breadth when it comes to what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But he said I could have a bunch of $2 and $3 million companies, and I could have a handful of those, and I could I could live like that, or I could go change the world by taking all of that energy into one company, spinning the plates up, hiring the best of the best, and creating $1 billion enterprise that really makes impact. And that's what he decided to do about, I think, the year before I came on. And and it's very different. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I always had 3 companies going on at one time, because if one was sucking, I would go work in the one that was working, and then it would problem solve in the back of my head, right?
Oh,
And then
yeah.
I'd go back to the one that's sucking and fix it as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then I could also sell, I could sell one off for 100, 200, 300, $500,000, and use that cash to drive the other one. To me, that was fun. It was exploratory. There's a domain, a link. I'm going to actually, let me copy it here, because I think I can paste it here. Clip, mic, cam, speaker, share, chat. Here we go.
Yep.
And this right here, so you talk about food truck. Food trucks are near and dear to my heart, by the way. I come from Portland,
Oh, really?
Oregon. Yeah, Portland, Oregon has dedicated blocks that they just have food trucks.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So they right around the city where you've got a lot of density, is they've carved out blocks that would normally be either community garden, or they might be a park, or they might be a church parking lot that's now a defunct church, and it's turned into an office building, and they've turned it into they've wired them up right. They've got great plumbing to them and all that stuff. So you just back your cart in, or your food truck, and you run it, and it's got rules, it's got safety, they've got cops that monitor it so that at night when people are gone, it doesn't get ripped off and those things. So it's really great.
Yeah.
So I just sent you a link called the Mighty Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Quick story. You're a banker. You're in your early 30s, mid 30s, and you're realizing that if you don't do something entrepreneurial, Mary, you're a banker and you work with small businesses to do funding in Vancouver, Washington, right? So you're doing funding, you're getting loans, you're doing all that stuff. You're making sure that they're staying, liquid, and you suddenly have this decision. You wake up one day, you look in the mirror, you got a wife and 2 kids, and you go, I've got to go. If I don't do something now while I'm still young enough, I'll never do something. I'll continue to be a banker for the rest of my life. Not that was bad. He made decent money, worked for a good bank in Vancouver. But so what he did is he started a food truck called the Mighty Bull. He studied the different kinds of food prep businesses that you could do, and found that doing rice bowls was the most profitable with the least amount of effort. And if you study the history of Chipotle, which I highly recommend you do, the way he started was he was at a gig. I think he was consulting, the founder of Chipotle. He was consulting in San Francisco, and he saw this one down kitty corner from his office. He saw this little restaurant that would open at lunch and close after lunch, but it would be open for like 3 hours, 11 to 2, and it would just be jammed with people around the block, and then be closed down. And they made a boatload of money, and all they did was, the large wraps that you can get? Yeah. The large wraps, they had rice cooking in one thing, they had beans cooking in another, they had a couple of veggies and a couple of meats, and they would just, people would come in, they would say, what do you want? And they would wrap them and make them, and by the time they're done, it was super easy. No eat-in. There was no eat-in at the time. And then he was able to lease an ex-donut shop outside of Boulder, Colorado, where he's from, near the university there. And was able to do that. And he didn't have any money, so he just used corrugated steel and things like that. So if you go to a Chipotle and you look at the corrugated steel and the cut wood, that was because that's all he could afford at the time.
Wow.
And so it's open ceiling, spiral duct, all of that
Yep.
that look. But really great his history, and then trying to keep it organic and trying to keep it natural. Like free range chicken and free range. He even did a 15-minute commercial. If you get a chance,
Wow.
Google or go to YouTube for Chipotle 15-minute commercial. It's great because it's an animated commercial talking about how how the difference between Chipotle quality beef and mass market McDonald's beef and the rest.
Yeah.
But the food truck. So what he did is he built his food truck. Now there was no laws on food trucks in Vancouver, Washington at the time.
Hmm.
So he had to write them. So he worked with the city to write the rules for food trucks, and he was the only food truck.
Wow.
We have a junior college called Clark College there in Vancouver. So he was able to negotiate with them to be the food truck, to park on their parking lot and be the food truck for the community college. So and that's what he did. And then he had another block downtown, and our downtown is growing very quickly. Vancouver is a tax haven for people that live in Portland. So we have this massive migration,
Yeah.
and when I was a kid, it was 25,000 people. Now it's 370,000. So
Wow.
yeah, it's gone quite a bit. So he did that, and then he said, "All right, what's the next move?" And he goes, "Well, the next move is either get another food truck, or to find a permanent place and keep the food truck going, because that's cash flow and it's profitable and it's easy and everybody knows how to do it." And so that's what he did. And so he finally built what would be a model for a franchise called the Mighty Bowl. And if you look at it there, and then he built a during the pandemic, or just before the pandemic hit, he was building a wine bar next to it. And that may be the undoing of them. But if you look at this, you look at the menu, you look at their philosophies and the rest, probably the best food truck extension I've ever seen. And for a guy that owns a food truck, this would be a really cool one to learn from. And by the way, he's a really super nice guy. He's very bright. He's not a fluent conversationalist. He likes business. So he loves to talk the numbers. He loves to talk he's more an accountant than he is a marketer. But his design style, his aesthetic, his employees, the way he runs his employees and builds employees is incredible. The flow that they've developed through their little restaurant. It's tiny, by the way. It's a tiny little restaurant. It's got a window you can go up to get your food, or you can get in there and it's like bleachers, nice marine grade plywood bleachers you can sit at that go all the way up to the ceiling of the place.
Oh, that's cool. It's like high school gyms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's very, very chill and it's great. And then they put a juice bar in the middle of it. So you've got a juice bar with all the good organic juices, and then around it is the food, is the wraps and the bowl, the Mighty Bowl. It's actually a Mighty Bowl. It's not even a wrap. It's just rice within all the extra stuff you want, or quinoa and all the other extra stuff you want. So, I would share that because as a food truck guy and a guy that loves that kind of food, I think it's incredible. And there's ways to do it that are good. And then if you grab the Chipotle historical pieces, even through, I don't know if you remember when Chipotle really got hammered because they got some bad food that was.
Yeah, they had a Coca-Cola at some point, didn't they?
Exactly. Yep.
Yep.
And I think it was lettuce from Mexico.
Yep.
And so, because there's a lot of wastewater in Mexican, irrigation, and so that can be a problem. And so it made them up their game, and it made, they had to last through it. So, I think and those are the things we talk about, the heart and mind, is. Those are opportunities to either go, we're going to double down and we're going to make sure and take care of our customers and we're going to make it right, or screw it. This didn't happen. Right. Yeah. And so,
and then go out of business kind of thing.
Exactly. Yep. That's when you see brands change. I mean, I think it's very similar to, you see X.com now. Right? That's, I don't know if you know, but that was Alon's original domain for PayPal. So.
Oh, really?
Before he founded PayPal, he had a company called X.com that was a financial services technology company he realized that he was going to be fighting this other company. They weren't called PayPal, but they had a division called PayPal.
Mm-hmm.
They were both fighting for this kind of online currency thing that was being invented, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually they joined forces because that was the only way for them to win because otherwise it'd be fragmented. It'd
Yeah.
be there'd be their weird currency and another weird currency, and it'd be kind of like what
Kind of the
cryptos.
crypto market right now. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Do I get Ether? Do I get right? What do I get to be
Yeah.
able to stabilize and have a generic, good on all platform coin?
Yeah. Man, well, Mark, this has been awesome. These are usually 30 minutes, so we're already way over, and I appreciate you taking all the time out. I know we weren't even booked this long. I actually have to go get my kids to get a haircut. They got their first day of school is Wednesday, so we got to
Oh,
get
nice.
today. Yeah.
Hey, do me a favor. Send me some links to your food cart,
Yeah,
and
will do, man. I'll
I
send you our website.
I love it. And let me know. Is there anything that I can get you, a product or anything else that would be valuable? And then if there's any time you'd like to do a more extended discussion or do a deep dive or have a set of questions, I would love to. There's so many questions I want to ask you. I love meeting, when I say young entrepreneurs, I love meeting young entrepreneurs who are dedicated to the craft and really want to learn what entrepreneurship's about. And
Yep.
also, if there's anything, I mean, again, this is, my heart is in the guy that wants to reach out, risk it, and it sounds like you've done a hell of a job to be able to build up a foundation that allows you to, pay the bills, keep the wife happy, and the kids with haircuts,
Yep.
and and do the rest, and also keep yourself from falling apart at the same time. So.
Yeah, I'm working on it, man. Well, I guess before we hop off, is there any, I guess, where can people find out about your company or companies and, anything you want to plug, throw it in here.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. So Nootopia.com, Nootopia.com is our nootropics. They're customized and personalized. So you fill out. We have a couple of free tests. The first one lets us know what your neurochemical balance is, so that we know how to customize things. And the next one asks you all about what your height, weight, age, sex, what your biggest challenges are, how you eat, how you exercise, what you train, what your goals are. And then we customize every capsule, every powder, every spray just to you. So, and then we do it every month so that it can be more. You give us feedback every month, and we go, cool. Let's tweak that pill a little bit this way. Let's tweak that spray this way, and make it happen. And then I think, let me see if there's a. I think we. Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. So if you so you get 10% off at Nootopia.com /LVL UP level up.
Hey, there we go. Heck yeah.
Got it. And then if you go to bioptimizers.com, Bioptimizers, BIOPTIM, optimizers.
IZER?
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
.com. So Bioptimizers is our gut health and the rest of our health stuff. And you'll also see, a lot of the professionals that we work with, which are a lot of coaches, executives, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and of course professional sports people. We relish the opportunity to help people go to the next level in their lives, health and wellness. And we have a company goal that we meditate on every Monday. We spend 1 to 2 minutes as a group. We got about 125, 130 employees now worldwide, and we spend 2 minutes going with the meditation of, we want to make biological optimization available to every soul on earth. So that's our kind of collective goal. Yeah.
Man, well, I love it. I love the story, love the mission. I could talk. I feel like I need a power hour podcast per supplement just to know what they do, how to optimize them, everything. So we'll have to do a round two sometime. But yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.